And you must remember that there are about 29,000 people in the civil service who earn over $1 million a year. So they've got to get to grips with this, and it's politically very difficult because the public employees are highly unionized and could be very militant and could paralyze key services.
South Africa's public service is ballooning. How can the government decrease the size of the number of civil servants and also the wage bill itself? Well, Jonathan Katzenellenbogen, who is a journalist with the Daily Friend online newspaper, has written an interesting article on how the government can do just that and some of the obstacles that it might face in its way. So, Jonathan, the finance minister in his recent budget speech indicated that there were some plans afoot to reduce the size of the public service. Could you give us an indication of what he said and what is proposed?
Well, what is proposed is that they are trying to freeze the compensation budget. And what has allowed them to do this is a Labour High Court decision from last year, where the unions tried to challenge the government on this because the government proposed a wage freeze. The union said it was going back on an agreement. And the court, in a really historical decision, said yes to the government, you can freeze public sector wages, as the agreement was made without reference to the funding of this. And now that government finances are taking such severe strain, you, the government, are permitted to do this. So it's a historical decision and can be used going forward, but it'll still be challenged, of course, by the unions, who in their latest demand want a public service wage increase of CPI plus 4%.
Enjoying this analysis? Click here to sign up for our 30-day free trial for more content from the CIA.
Does the finance minister have political backing for this?
Well, we don't really know. So far, he seems to do so. And of course, the president has said that he has absolute political backing for this. And it's very unlikely that he would have presented a budget without political backing, at least from the president. Clearly, the RET faction, the Radical Economic Transformation faction, which has support from, of course, Zuma and Ace Magashule, doesn't. But so far, he appears to have this political backing. And besides, Mboweni is still in office, and the president has come out and actually said he has my full backing. So I think he does. And what's important is that the president himself has come out and said that there has to be reform and professionalization of the civil service, and that'll involve competency assessments and its depoliticization. So I can't think that Ramaphosa would have moved on this if he had not done his wide consultations. So I expect that they're in the process of this, and we'll see the draft plan at some stage.
So Jonathan, can you give our viewers a sense of the scale of the problem that is trying to be addressed here? How big is the public service exactly?
Well, the public service refers only to the national government. Okay, the wider public service employment problem is captured really in when you compare the ratio of compensation to GDP of the entire all public employees. Now, according to Stats SA, the number of total number of public employees, that's at national government, local government, and provincial government, as well as those employed by extra budgetary institutions, as they're known as, like SARS and Road Accident Fund and universities, about 100,000 people employed by universities, numbers 2.1 million. And if you look at their compensation and compare it to GDP, it's about 15% of GDP. Now, the average for the OECD, which includes the richest countries in the world, as well as emerging markets like Mexico, Turkey, and ourselves, the ratio, crucially, is 14.8%, and the average is 10.2%. So we're way above that. We're about 5 percentage points above the OECD average. That equates to about 250 billion rand, okay, about, and the national compensation budget is 170 billion. most of the spending on compensation, and the area that has grown the fastest, is at provincial and local government level. So the compensation, local government employs about 300,000 people, but their compensation has grown the fast. And you must remember that there are about 29,000 people in the civil service who earn over $1 million a year. So they've got to get to grips with this, and it's politically very difficult because the public employees are highly unionized and could be very militant and could paralyze key services.
So Jonathan, let's explore that last point in more detail. How do you envision this potential conflict playing out with the unions? Does the government have any prospects for success in reducing the size of the public service wage bill?
It's going to be very difficult, I think. And you know, the union demands are just out of the park. The latest union demands of CPI plus 4% are out of the park. And I think that there will be growing mobilization of this. And there was a strike on budget day. I don't know if it had much effect, but I think that the unions are probably testing the government at the moment, trying to mobilize their members. But you must remember that the average pay in the unions are on shaky ground, because the average pay in the public sector is well above that in the private sector, which is unusual for any country. That is significant. Also, one could make appeals to for pay restraint on the basis of equity. That is, that there have been very large-scale layoffs in the private sector, yet none in the public sector. And you know, as the government likes to appeal to solidarity, one could also appeal to solidarity. So I think in the PR battle, the unions could be on a weak ground, but at the same time, of course, the unions are ANC allies and could switch support to another faction when the time comes. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. If you enjoyed this analysis, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, check out the link in the description below to our 30-day free trial. We'll also link to Jonathan's article for further reading. My name is David Ansara. This is the Center for Risk Analysis. Until next time, take care.